A gute Woche, Rabboisai. Lili Nishmasi Mimirossi Ruspas Mordechai. Sponsored by the Gordon family from Lakewood. Today is Moshe Chaim's Bar mitzvah. Moshe Chaim is Balakayak, I think. Same guy, right? Balakayak. Moshe Chaim's Bar mitzvah. And Shabbos is the second shloshim of Yirchamiel. Yirchamiel ben Yisrael, Yibad l'chaim. The neshama should have an aliyah by Steve and Miriam Jakubowski. Yosef, do you know? Because I know Steve Jakubowski from Lincolnwood. Is it the same person?
I have no idea.
But I didn't know that he does the daf. What?
I was just in touch with Steve. He sends regards.
Does he do the daf?
He does the daf.
With us?
Yes.
I had no idea. Shkoyach Steve, why didn't you tell me anything? I had no idea. I just saw him in Chicago. I don't think he told me. All right. 15th Yahrtzeit of Miriam's father, Yitzhak Shlomo ben Menashe. The Shlomo should have an aliyah. Rabbi, I tell the new guy, who's actually a really old guy, who's here on day one, but missed 2.5 years in between. He's here. He doesn't know the rules. Tell him about talking, schmoozing in middle of shir. That is very important. But you shouldn't be telling us what's important, what's not, because you like to talk during shir also. So when it comes to those halachas, you are out. All right, this is from Ron Sterling, Rabbi Say, Eli, it's been a while since I last wrote to you. Welcome. We really hope to see you. Don't give us another 2.5 year break, though, in between the two. All right, it has been a while since I last wrote to you. I'm still with you and sincerely appreciate all the effort you and the MDY team put into the Daf Yomi and all the aspects of the MDY experience, including Or HaMerkaz and the visuals. I have to tell you, this week, Or HaMerkaz, if no one really enjoyed it, it was worth it just for my wife. I showed her the piece. There's Meet the Family. Every week, there's Meet the Family. So this week, it was Meet the Family Dog and pictures of Mando. And she was laughing for 7 minutes straight. It was a whole schmooze between Mando and what he saw in the house. He's not schmoozing, but turns out that he's a Brit. Oh, my other son was so upset. This is not British at all. It's not true. Exactly, it was a Brit, for sure. I take advantage of your words of encouragement. Could Roger Bannister have run 2 miles during an 8-minute daf? In your efforts to make the daf available to even those of the Olam who have not had the opportunity to learn the Gemara on a regular basis. I've been with the daf for a year, and after a month or so of 8 minutes, I guess that's when he jumped to the daf and look forward to attending his Zoom Bizman someday. Thanks again, Ronnie Sterling. Beautiful. Yishkoyach. Rabbi Yisai, take advantage of the last daf of Kachim, and then we go into Yomi Pesachim. That's the last parak of the Masechta, and Emir Hashem, a beautiful siyum right before Pesach. It's amazing that today they're celebrating Purim. Mom is right now celebrating Purim, only 17 miles away. So we are Shushan Purim. Shushan Purim is a big day for me. I used to be able to dunk. And it was on a Shushan Purim that I was on a fast break in Chaim, Berlin, in the gym, in the Meister Shaya, all by myself. And the Olam started screaming, dunk, dunk. So I said, okay, here's my chance to really impress the Olam. And I took off, I thought, for some reason, because I had all this adrenaline, I could just take off from the foul line or something. I took off, and I got off the ground maybe 3 inches, and I snapped my ACL, and I was in rehab for a year, and I was able to dunk afterwards. After I got married, I dunked twice, I think. I worked out a lot until I was able to do it. There was a whole program, I forgot what it was called, the jumping program. Yeah, there's one aide. I paid him off. That's a Maisa Shahoya. I didn't say, listen, the rim was 9.5 feet, whatever, but... No, on a 10-foot rim. 10-foot rim. Maisa Shahoya. Fine. Ask Rabbi Hamnik from Lakewood, he'll tell you. Zok Teheli Mishnah, holding on Daf Tzadik Zayin on base, all the way in the bottom. Here's the question for today. It's a riddle, somewhat negat our sugya. It's not in the sugya. You can't know it if you learn. How is it possible that a woman is married to a man? She's 100% married to him. She's an Eishes Ish for all halachas. She requires a get. However, when it comes to if her husband dies, she doesn't really have to sit shiva. And not only that, she could bring a Pesach and everything. We're going to see a very interesting case. Says the Mishnah, Hamafrish nekevel pischoi. So we have to know this halacha already. Carbon Pesach is only a zachar. He goes ahead and an akeva for Korban Pesach. It's not chal even for a millisecond. It can't catch on. It's an akeva. Oy zachar ben shtei shanim. Also, the Korban Pesach has to be less than a year. Once it goes into the second year, it is not a Korban Pesach. And he says this 2-year-old should be a Korban Pesach. The halacha is yireh achi yistoiv. You let it graze until it befalls a mum. V'yimacher. In other words, the Mishnah is telling us that it's dachui, it's pushed off, that's it. It's dachui. V'yiplu damav l'nadav l'shlamim. Rashi's gurs here. V'yavi b'damav shlamim. The point is, you take the money and you buy a shlamim. Says the Mishnah, Daf Tzadik Ches Amud Aleph, Hamafrish Pischoy Vomeis. He designates a Korban Pesach, and before he dies, Lo Yivienu B'noi Achrov L'Shem Pesach. The problem is, the son inherits this Korban Pesach, but the son wasn't part of the group. And we learned that in order for Korban Pesach to be a good Korban Pesach, hi, good Voch, Israeli, Shkoyach for the Shalchman is beautiful, beautiful letter, Shkoyach. If a Korban Pesach remains without an owner for even a millisecond, it's puzzle. So you have a whole group of people, and the group leaves, that Korban Pesach becomes puzzle. You must leave somebody in the group. The machlokes we're going to see, we discussed it as well with Rabbi Yehuda. Does there have to be an original person there? Not. But if the Korban Pesach is there for a second without an owner, so it's not a Korban Pesach. So what happened over here? The guy died. His son wasn't part of the group. He inherited it, so he wants to take over and bring it for his father. You can't do it. So the Korban Pesach turns into a shlamim as other things. You don't have to let it graze. You can bring it as a shlamim. Omar Rav Huna Bereder Rav Yeshua, starting the Gemara, the last daf of. Well, we have a daf and a half. A few lines on Tzadik Tes. Shma minot las. This is a sugya that we had a number of times in Shas in the last few years, many times actually. If you look on the side, you'll see Zvachim, Krisis, Tmura, same words. Shma minot las. We see 3 halachas from this Mishnah. Shma mino balechayim nitchin. This is machlokes. The Gemara is going to bring Reb Shimon soon. Whether only an animal that's already shechted you could push off forever, but a live animal you can't just push off, say it's dachui, finished, it's gone. Over here in the Mishnah you see, we're dealing with a live animal. The live animal becomes pushed off. You said that this live animal should be Korban Pesach, and it's a nekeva, it gets pushed off forever. Yirad Yistat. Where else could we learn this halacha? We could learn this halacha what we learned 2 days ago. If a live animal gets lost, over there you see the same concept. Lost animal gets pushed off, and it's alive. Says Rashi that the Gemara waits for this Mishnah because we see all 3 halachas of Ein Chanami. You could learn it from before. Ushmamina dochui mi kara have dochui. There's a shita that says it has to be nira v'nitcha. It has to be a Korban Pesach, then it gets pushed off. Okay, it gets pushed off forever. But this animal, this nekeva animal, this 2-year-old, was never a Korban Pesach for a millisecond even. So to push it off forever, that's a huge chiddush. Ushmamina yesh dichui b'damim. This animal, since it never became a korban, it doesn't have gedushas haguf, its body, its guf never became kadosh. What does it have? It has monetary gedusha, which Taisus asks on Rashi seems to be almost the same thing. Dachim meikara. The only way you have gedushas damim is because it's dachim meikara. Okay, but those are the 3 things according to Rashi. Hamafresh pischoi. Tarabana. Hamafresh is pischoi v'meis. The Bryce elaborates a little bit on the Mishnah. If a person designates a Korban Pesach and he dies, if the son is together with him, he's part of the group, he's with his father, so what if his father dies? He just brings it weiter. But if his son is not with him, he could bring it as a shlamim. When could you bring it? Not on the 14th, not on the 15th. You have to wait to the 16th. Chalamayid. L'shisha aser in, l'chamisha aser loy, kosavar nidorim v'nedavois ein krevim b'yantiv. You can't bring it on the 15th. You can't bring it on Yantiv because it's just a neder. It's not a chiyuv that you don't bring on Yantiv. Says the Gemara. The mitzvah avemas. Let's think about this for a second. When exactly did the father die? He died, let's say, on the 14th, Erev Pesach, but before Chatzos, 11 o'clock he dies. How could his son bring a korban Pesach? His son just lost his father. Now, if we remember, we learned that if a oinen, who's in the group? Father and son. Doesn't say that anybody else is in the group. It's two people. One person died, the son is left. We learned that a oinen is not allowed to bring a korban. Because what happens if it becomes tamei? It's going to be a stam. So, that was a Mishnah. Oinen not. So how could this son bring a korban? Ella, we must say, the mis achar chatzos. He died after chatzos. He dies after chatzos. The father died after chatzos. In other words, when chatzos came along, the korban Pesach went into effect. We go according to the Mandamar, chatzos is what triggers the korban. Goes into effect chatzos. So he dies after chatzos. But what about the case that he doesn't have a son with him? Now we have a major problem. I got you, so to speak. When exactly did the father die? L'chayra, the father died in both cases, a reisha and a seifa. The reisha has a son involved, the seifa doesn't have a son involved. And if... Huh? My tie is low? Yeah. You want me to move? Let me tell the other one what happened. Somebody left the window open in the Beis Medrash, and a pigeon got in here and wreaked havoc, knocked the cameras out of, did something to the camera, can't get the camera set. No, there's no volume. Hold on, let me stand up. Say that. Huh? He's shutting it. But what is it? It's YouTube? You're gonna shut off the whole YouTube or just the camera? So let's get somewhere, no? Okay, shut it off for 10 seconds. Go. And Yosef, you'll just cut this part out, hopefully, so people don't have to wait.
Eventually.
Okay, we're back. Hi, Zoomers. I need a screen here for Zoom so I can see who's on, please. Where are we? Should we take it back from the beginning? All right. Hamafresh Pischai, starting from Tana Rabbanan. You hear, Yosef? We're starting from Hamafresh Pischai. Tana Rabbanan, Hamafresh is Pischai b'meis. This is the case in the Mishnah. Person designated a korban Pesach and he dies. If his son is part of the group, then the son is just another guy. He'll bring the korban Pesach. Who cares if one of the two people dies? It doesn't mention when this happened exactly. When the father, we don't know yet. If there's no son, you should bring the korban Pesach on the 16th on Chalamayid. Now, when did the father die? It's a big nafkamina. As the Gemara is going to explain, it's a mamanavshach. Because if the father died before Chatzos, then we have a problem with the Reisha. We have a problem with the Seifa. So let's see. L'shisha Asar, first of all, the first diuk is L'shisha Asar in, L'chamisha Asar loy. You could only shech on Chalamayid because Savar Nedarim and Davis ain't craving Biyantiv. He's in Yerushalayim. He's dressed up. There's people in Yerushalayim watching right now. It's important for them. So they're with the masks and everything. So, you cannot bring a neder and a dava on Yontif. It's not doicha Yontif. You can't be machal Yontif for that. So you bring on Chalmud. Now, the mitzvah avemas, when did this father die? If the father died right before Chatzos anytime, how could the son, the orphan, the oinen, bring a korban Pesach? The halacha is, we learned in a Mishnah earlier, that a oinen should not bring his own carbon. Why? If he's the only person part of it. If he's part of a group, fine. But if he's the only guy on the carbon, and that's the case over here, because he was partners with his father, they're going to have a geschmack and meal, the two of them, and the father died. Now he's the only guy left. How could you bring it? The Mishnah says you don't bring it for one einin. What if he has to deal with his father and become tamei during the levaya? Then he won't be able to eat the carbon Pesach. So we don't bring it. So that's it. So it cannot be that the father died before chatzos. Ella demis achar chatzos. Now, l'chayra, you want to say the father dies at the same time, l'chayra, in both cases. You don't want to start making different cases. So if the father died after chatzos, ein benoi memune imoy, so what's the second case in the Mishnah, the Seifa? There's no son involved, just him. So the guy is the only guy on the carbon Pesach and he drops dead. So the son should bring a shlamim. He should take this carbon Pesach and flip into a shlamim. Once this guy that's about to die, Chatzos comes along, Chatzos locks it in. It makes it a carbon Pesach. So how could the son go ahead and take a full-fledged carbon Pesach and make it as a shlam, a carbon Pesach? So, this right over here is the ultimate. The guy dies after Chatzos. Let's say he died after Chatzos. So, and there's a son. So the son should bring it as a carbon Pesach. He died after Chatzos. The second case of the Mishnah, the best part, the best way, the best case scenario is that in the Seifa he died before Chatzos. And there's no son. So you bring a shlamim. What's the problem with this? That he died at different places. He died in different times. So Abaya says this is what's going on in the Mishnah. I don't care that he dies in different times of the day. This is how you have to explain the Mishnah. In the Reisha, he dies after Chatzos. In the Seifa, he dies before Chatzos. If he dies after Chatzos, then it's a beautiful carbon Pesach, and the son who's a Einan just brings it. What's the problem? You're not making a carbon Pesach for him. It's too late. It's already a carbon Pesach. There's nothing to do here. So you might as well just be makriv it. You don't go ahead l'chatchila. The second part, the Seifa, the guy doesn't have a son involved in his group, and he dies before Chatzos. So then, in that case, you have a good carbon. It's not a Pesach yet, because Chatzos didn't happen. So go ahead and make it a shlamim. Nobody likes this pshat. 4 out of the 5 don't like it. This is Abaya. So we're going to have 4 pirushim to explain that it's after Chatzos. Well, one pshat is that it's before Chatzos. He died before, and 3 that he died after. Let's see. Unfortunately, because of Matzah Shabbos, I didn't have a chance to put it all in a... This is the best I was able to do. Pretty shvach, without any background, without any shadow, nothing, 0, like this. Okay, I got 1 out of the 5. Yeah, we're going to see in a second. So, no, I already said, you'll see in a second. Over here the Gemara says, Chatzois is koveya, not shchita. Omar Rava, or some like to say Rabba. Anytime you always see this, I don't know, 100 times in Shas, Rabba Rava. It's talking about that he died before Chatzos in both cases. So if he died before Chatzos, so how do you explain the Reisha? We got a problem with the Reisha. He died before Chatzos, so how does his son bring a carbon Pesach? He's a Einan. U'may vieno l'shum Pesach sheini. It's not talking about he brings it today, on the 14th of Nisan. On the 14th of Iyar, he brings it. That's when he brings it. It's a good carbon. Let him just wait. He can't bring it today because he's Einan. Let him wait a month and bring it then. Abaya Omar Litzdadim Katani. So this is Abaya. Litzdadim just means we go both ways. We're going to say one case that he died after Chatzos, one case he died before Chatzos. That's Litzdadim. Litzdadim Katani. Meizach Chatzos, B'nai Mimuni Ima, and his son is with him. Yiviena L'shum Pesach. You don't say Yirachi stuff. Son brings it. Meiz Kodem Chatzos, Ein B'nai Mimuni Ima, and he doesn't have a son with him. Yiviena L'shum Shlomim. Now, what happens if there's no son? The first case, let's go slow. Abaye says, this is son. B'nai Mimuni Ima, this is son. And what if there's no son? So then it will be Yirachi stuff. Now let's take the second case. Meis kohen chatzos, ein b'noi memunim. There's no son, and he died before chatzos. So what's the halacha? This is tricky. Listen to this. Meis kohen chatzos. He died. The father dies before chatzos, and there's no son with him. Yevi'enu l'shum shlamim. You should bring it as a shlamim. What if there is a son? What do you say? Menachem. What if there is a son and he died before chatzos? No. What? No, there's two cases in the Mishnah. There's a Reish and a Seifa. The Seifa is there's no son. Ein b'noi mimuni imoi yevenu shum shlamim. No, I'm talking about the Brisa. You're jumping in the Mishnah. We're talking about the Brisa brings two cases.
If there is a son, his son is a nine, and he uses it.
Pesach Sheni. That's the halacha. So if there is a son, he's a Einan, he can't do it today, he brings it as a Pesach Sheni. These are all obvious things. Abaye says, great. Rav Shravi Omar, Loilam de Mislach Chatzos. So the next few tirutzim, or three tirutzim, are that this happened, the father died in both, the Reisha and the Seifa, after Chatzos. So if it's after Chatzos, what happened? The Pesach locks in, it becomes a carbon Pesach. L'chayra. Ukegoin shahaya aviv goisebs b'chatzos. If he died after Chatzos, so how could it become Shlomim? It's already Karm Pesach. How could the Sefer say, bring it as a Shlomim? It became a Pesach. The father died after Chatzos, right? Chatzos locks in. It became a Karm Pesach. You can't flip something that's already a Karm Pesach into Shlomim. So the answer is, his father was tinker, he was mamish about to die. And if he's about to die, it does not flip into a Karban Pesach. That's a big chiddush. Because most people that are goysesim are going to die, so halachically it doesn't flip into a Karban Pesach. Rav Ashi Omar, loylum de mislach chatzos. Again, another pshat that the father died after chatzos, and we have a problem that if he died after chatzos and there's no son in the group, that's the second case. There's no son in the group. He died after chatzos, so it turned into Karban Pesach. So how does the Karban Pesach flip into a shlamim? Reb Shimoni, the Omar ein belachayim nitchen. It's alive. So I could take it and make it into a shlam. Ravina Omar, kigon she'ifrishoy acher chatzos. This happened after chatzos. The father died after chatzos. But here's an amazing thing. I don't know if I knew this before. When we say that chatzos triggers and locks in the animal into a Karban Pesach, it's exactly at chatzos. Just for argument's sake, let's say chatzos is 12:00. 12, it's noon. Could be chatzos, I don't know, what time is chatzos today? 1 o'clock, who knows? What?
7 minutes to 12.
7 minutes to 12? That's today? Okay, unbelievable. So at 7 minutes to 12, that's when the Karban Pesach locks in. Let's say HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates, like Sheshis and Mebereshis, he created mature animals. And those mature animals, because when an animal is born, you have to wait 8 days to shecht it. But not on the first day of creation. So let's say HaKadosh Baruch Hu created an animal that's already mature, poof, comes down from the sky at 12:07, not 7 minutes to 12, but 12:07. It doesn't get locked into Karban Pesach. It can never get locked into Karban Pesach. It's not that it's from Chatzos on, it's the moment of Chatzos and that's it. You hear? It's a tremendous chiddush. So, if I was mafresh the Karban after Chatzos, now I don't have a trigger, I don't have anything that locks it in to become a Karban Pesach. I already missed that. That already happened at 7 minutes to 12. I was mafresh my Karban Pesach at 1 o'clock. So I don't have that issue that it became a Karban Pesach. Memela, umeisu ba'alam acher chatzos, and then the owner died because of a chatzos kova. Chatzos is what's koveya as a Karban Pesach, and I missed the boat. I didn't have a chatzos that was koveya. So it didn't turn into a Karban Pesach. So memela I can make it a shlamim. The whole problem is that chatzos, the father died after chatzos, but already turned into Karban Pesach. How did it turn into Karban Pesach? From chatzos itself, 7 minutes to 12, flips the switch and makes this a fully designated, not just a designated Karban Pesach, but a Karban Pesach. So how could I flip it into shlamim? The answer is, because he did it after chatzos and never turned into Karban Pesach. So now I can make it a shlamim. No, he wasn't mafresh it until after chatzos. It says he was mafresh it acha chatzos. If he was mafresh it before chatzos, so he has a designated Karban Pesach, then chatzos comes along and locks it in. There's no locking in. And that locking in is only for a moment in time. It doesn't go, I thought when we were learning this sugya, from Chatzaisan. I think that's what I thought. No, it's not from Chatzaisan. It's 1 second that locks it in. A second later, it doesn't lock in. So if I'm mafresh a second after Chatzais, I don't have any lock in until I shecht it. Huh?
You could hedge until then.
Yes. You could die. If you want, you could die until then, and then your son could bring it as a shlam. That's the only good thing about it. Says the Mishnah, sponsored. Oh, we forgot to say sponsored. A double sponsored by the official Mishnah is sponsored by official from official catering. We have a big surprise when we're turning the page today. If your one korban Pesach gets mixed up with other zvachim, says Rashi, for instance, 2 other korbanos like a asham and an oila. Asham is very similar to chatas. Kachim. Your Pesach is a kachi kalim. Gets mixed up with these korbanos. Kulam yiru achi yistavu v'yimachru. You have to let all 3 graze until they have a mum. Let's say you have a big fat, asham. It's the most expensive one, so you sell that particular one. That's what we gauge all the korbanos by. So let's say that one costs $1,000. You have to raise $1,000 per korban. He has to pay. Let's say he has one. Let's say his korban pesach is only worth 500, but the korban asham is 1,000. He has to get $1,000 for the korban pesach. Who has to pay for the extra $500? He does from his own pocket. Now, what does he do with the money? He says this money should be a korban chatos. But how could he do that? What if by mistake, let's say he has a bundle of money, and he says, okay, this money should go for the chatas. But what if he by mistake did it on a korban pesach? What if he didn't? He doesn't know where his korban pesach is, right? It's mixed in there with 3. He doesn't know which one is what. So he takes $1,000, and he says this should be for korban chatas. But what if the money that he took, he exchanged it not for the chatas? The money he's holding in his hand is the asham money. It's the oila money. It's the pesach money. What does he do? So Rashi says he has to make a special t'nai. And he says, wherever this oila is, I don't know which one of the 3, this is the money for it. It should be mechulel on this money. You got what I'm saying? He can't be mechal. He can't just pick one and say, I'm mechal for that. Because he doesn't know which one it is. So he has to make it nice. He says, wherever it is, whichever one of the 3 it is, that should go onto this money. And then with that money, he goes and he buys a korban asham. He goes and he does it again, and he buys a korban pesach. He does it again, and he buys a oila. Nisarev b'b'chayros. What if his korban pesach got mixed up with the b'char, the oldest animal? Rabbi said, don't worry about it. It's only one more daf. Nisarev b'b'chayros. Got mixed up with a b'char. Now, what's so special about a b'char? A b'char is very, very similar to korban pesach in a lot of different ways. First of all, the way you spill the blood on the mizbeach is the same way, the same zrika. We learned about a korban pesach. You don't lean with all your might on the neck, on the head. You don't do smicha. You don't do it with the b'char. You don't do tnufa, chazav v'shaik. I'm just reading from Rashi. So a b'char is very similar. Reb Shimon has a solution. If everybody is part of this chabura, what's the problem? Who gets to eat a b'char? Only a kohen. So the kohen could eat either korban pesach or b'char. How many days could you eat a b'char for? It's kachikalim. How many days do you eat kachikalim for? 2 days. 2 days in the night. How long do you eat a korban pesach for? 1 day. 1 night. Until chatzos, let's say. So we have a big problem. That's the only problem that we have to deal with. You're saying that let the kohen go eat these korbanos because manavshach. If it's a b'char, kohen can eat. If it's pesach, he's part of the group. So let him eat both. The problem is that you're limiting the amount of time that you're allowed to eat it. You're only allowed to eat it for 1 night. We just turned to Daf Ches Amud Beis. Brand new sponsors. Because I put someone in the spot, I feel a little bad. I do. Rebelli Daikiman from Brooklyn, from Borough Park, says he wants a sponsor for a month for Brocha vehatzlacha for all the MDY team. You guys in the back, you guys. How many MDY team do we have here now? Gary Yosef. You're not an MDY team guy anymore. You used to, when you used to fill in for me, for sure. But you have an official job to correct me, but you're not part of the, Avi's here. Who else?
I'm retired.
I don't see the Seltzer guys. I call them boys, but they're actually, one of them is married. You're my double. Everybody has a job. Rabbi Shlomo also has a job, but he's not part of the team. He's part of the Chabura. All right. Brocha vehatzlacha for all the MDY team in their everyday lives. For all the hard work, for all the hard avodas hakodesh they do. I'm trying to read my own handwriting. Okay, and sponsored, believe it or not, 2 months in a row. Sponsored for Shlomo, for all the Chali Yisrael, especially, maybe after this month I'll get it straight. For all the Chali Yisrael, especially from the MDY family. Please consider joining the MDY Tehillim group, tehillim.8mindaf.com. I'm getting better. Again for another month. I guess it worked out well for them. A lot of people joined the Tehillim group, and a lot of people are getting healthy, so it's kedai. Oh, ask the Gemara, top line in Daf Amud Beis. How could you take a carbon you're able to eat for 2 days? We had a whole sugya that if you're going to do this, it's better just to let it graze. We had that. It's such a big problem to take a limit of carbon that you're able to eat for 2.5. What if you can't finish the carbon? You're going to have to toss it out. We don't want to get to that kind of situation. Let it graze and before mum. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon Tamei Omer Mevim Kosher LeBeis Absul. Reb Shimon is not concerned about that. He fights that problem on. He says, go. Let everybody eat it. It's not an issue. This nan, how do I know? Asham shenisar b'shlamim. Asham. What's a asham? Like a chatos. It's kachei kachim, not kodesh kodashim. Kachei kachim versus a shlamim, which is kachei kalim. It's a much lesser kedusha shlamim. Now, the difference between a asham and a shlamim is that a asham, you could only shecht it. This is the line in the Azara. It's only the north part of the Azara, where you have all these hooks and the tables and the kitchen area, this area. Kachi kalim, you could go everywhere. Pesach, kachi kalim, you could shecht it everywhere. Kachi kachim, only a kohen could eat it. Where? In this area. You can't schlep it outside anywhere. Kachi kalim, you can bring it all over Yerushalayim. So there's 3 differences. Where you eat it, who could eat it, and where you shecht it. So let's say a Asham and a Shlamim got mixed up. Reb Shimon Oimer, Yishachatu betzafin. I have a great idea, says Reb Shimon. Shecht it over here. So you get to all shitas, because a Shlamim for sure you could shecht over here. And a Asham you could also shecht over here, so great. So in terms of shchita, we solved the problem. V'yachlu kachayim shabahem. So just let a kohen eat it, and just let him eat it inside the Azara, and you solved all the issues. But there's another issue you didn't address. Mevim kachin lebeis absul. Asham you could only eat for a day and a night, and the shlam you could eat for 2 days. You just limited the amount of time you could eat. And he says, I don't care. So what do you do? What's the best eitzah to do? You have to wait until they have a mum. Bring a gezunta festa. They say after the animal. So you say that whichever one, we don't know which one of the 2 is the Karban Pesach, but whichever one it is, it should jump to this nice fat animal. In other words, it's a nicer animal than the other ones, so you don't have any issue that you bring something less. So now, there's another yisod that you have to know. A bechar you cannot redeem. You can never redeem a bechar. So what do you do for a bechar? You have to wait for a mum to come. If a mum happens, then you could eat it. So, you're yaitza both things here. You have a mum on the animals that you have existing, and you redeemed. The redeeming helps for the Karban Pesach. The mum helps for a bechar. So now you eat everything. That's the eitzah. Now we have a Mishnah that goes all the way to the bottom of the Amud, a very simple Mishnah. It's basically the same case, just repeat itself in 4 different ways, for the most part. And that's it. We're going to get to the Gemara, and we're done for tonight. Says the Mishnah, Chabura sha'abat pischa. Oh, thank you. You're in charge of that. The official Mishnah. What's with you, Avi? You're dropping the ball. That's your job. It's your contact, man. Chabura, I'm sorry, the official Mishnah sponsored by official, from Official Catering. And the first Mishnah of the Amud. I feel bad for him. We dinged him 3 times today. It's only $100 each. Rabbi said, you guys somebody should step up for this. I don't want to talk to the bar parkers. Nobody from bar parkers is allowed, but other guys. Huh? This Mishnah, actually, he got a great deal. Truth is, he got dinged today, but this could have been 7 Mishnahs. Look at the length of this thing. Chabura sha'ovat pischa. He wants to give. That's the thing. It's not a ding for him. By the way, Rabbi said, don't make the mistake I made. I'm looking for Rashi and I can't find any Rashi. I'm looking over here where Rashi is. Rashi's on the other side where Taisus is supposed to be. So if you're looking for Rashi on this Amud, it's on both sides, right? Even on the side where Taisus is. And if you're looking for Taisus, it's a tiny little thing in the middle of the page. Very funny how they did it. Okay. I'm like looking, okay, there's no Rashi, great. Go weiter. I'm like, time out. It can't be, there's no Rashi. I'm like, okay. Fine. Says the Mishnah. Chabura she'ovad pischa. The whole group, it just shows you that's an easy Amud. There's no Taisus. Chabura she'ovad pischa, a group lost the Karm Pesach. So there's basically 4 options here, okay? They could send the shliach out and say, go look for the Karm Pesach. And what happens when you find it? You should make it for us. Do it for us. And what about if you don't find it and we do our own? So those are the cases. There's 4 options. Either he tells them, listen, if I come late, do it for me. Or they tell him, you do it for us. Or they tell each other, you do it for each other. Or, I think Shai is at the door for you. Or they don't even say anything. Says the Mishnah, Chabura shavat pischa, if they lost the Karm Pesach, they tell one of the guys, one of the group, go out and bring us a Karm Pesach. Go look for it. Go look for the original. Let's not lose this. So he goes and he finds, he did his job. They were nervous. They didn't hear from him. No cell phones. They didn't know. They took their own, just in case, and they made a Karban Pesach. This is all obvious stuff, very easy. If he was able to do the shlichus, so everybody's yaitza with them. Why? There is an akudah here that we have to point out, because although they brought a Karban Pesach, they never left the first group. You can only be part of one group. So, but when they went to get another carbon, when they bought a second carbon, did they leave the first group? No. You must say they didn't leave the first group. But what happened? There is a time where they leave. You know when? When they shechted. That's when they leave. But if he shechted before them, it's too late. They're already part of his group. So they yaitza with him. But if he did not shecht before them, they leave as soon as they shecht the carbon. Then they're gone. Then bye-bye, we jump to this group. So that's where the issue happens. And they went and they grabbed their own carbon. If they are first, they eat. He eats from the one that he found. He was moitzi everybody. What's the problem? Now, but if, you see what happens? If their second carbon that they went and they got was shechted first, then they were moishech yadayim. They removed themselves from the first one. You're allowed to, right? Up until shechita, you could jump around to any group you want. So they left his group, the original group, and they went to a new group. He didn't get a second carbon Pesach. He's relying on the one that he found. So everything is good. What if nobody knows which one? They don't know. They didn't have a clock. Or it happened simultaneously. It's impossible. But whatever. Because there's a suffix here. He could eat from his. That's the original. They cannot eat. Because you don't know what to do with it, you got to burn it. There's a manavshach. You hear the manavshach? They for sure were yaitza. Either the shliach was first, and that's the original, and they were yaitza with his carbon. And if their carbon was first, so they yaitza with their carbon. What about the fact that they have to eat a carbon Pesach? Achila is not ma'akiv. So they take the second carbon Pesach, burn it, and he eats the first one. Now we're just going to the same exact case, a little different. What if the shliach says, listen, I'm going to try my best to find the Korban Pesach, but let's say you don't hear from me. What if I don't find it? Chances are I'll never find it. Think about it. There's a million Korban Pesachs running around Yerushalayim. How is he going to find it? Whatever. He thinks he's going to find it. But there's a 95% chance I'm not going to find it. So do me a favor. Buy another one. I'm going to be part of your group. So it's the same case, just in reverse. He went, but he found the original. And they shechted a second one because they didn't hear from him. If there's this first, he said, I want to be part of your group. So he was part of their group and he eats with them. If the original was shechted first, but they never said anything to him. They never made him a shliach. They said he's crazy if you're going to look for it. So they don't eat with him. And if we don't know, or they were both shechted at the same time, they're the guys that know for sure they shechted. He doesn't eat with them. His original guy goes and is burnt. Again, he has a manav shach, and therefore he doesn't have to shech the Korban Pesach. But what if they both said to each other? This is almost normal. If you find it, you do it for us. If you don't come back, we'll do it for you. We're nice. You go out, look for it. If you find it, we're making you a shliach to bring that carbon for us. Because that's the original. We like that. That's the original one. And if you don't find it, we'll do you a favor and we'll put you on ours. What's the next case going to be? Nobody said to anybody. He didn't say to them. Okay. Everybody eats from the first one. And if we don't know, burn both. Here's the case, you burn both. What if no one said to anybody anything? He just went out to look for it. No connection. Fine. You have two groups that the Korban Pesach got mixed up. Echad me'elu, ba'aloi etzel elu, v'echad me'elu, ba'aloi etzel elu. You have two groups. So you take a guy from group A, put him in group B. You take a guy from group B and put him in group A. And then they make a t'nai. They say, Im shalanu hu ha'pesach hazeh. If we're the original owners, we don't know. We just grab one of the two korbanos. If we're the original guys, yodecha meshuchas mishacha, v'imnei sal shalanu. Then you remove yourself from your group. You're part of our group. We're going to shecht it. You're going to eat from us. And if you are the proper owner of this Korban Pesach, 4 of us are Ganavim, you're the main guy, so we want to do a deal with you. We are going to remove ourselves from Korban B. We're coming with you. You'll be, and we're going to be part of your Chabura, and everything is good. So listen to this case. Interesting case. There's 5 groups. Each group has 5 people to the group. Look how it looks. Here. Case, it's confusing. There's 5 groups. This is nothing. Wait till the next picture. There's 5 groups. There's 5 guys, blue guys, 5 red guys, 5 yellow guys, 5 orange, 5 purple, orange. So here, this is great. Now all of a sudden there's a mishmash. The karbanos start mixing up and nobody knows what's flying. What do? Very pashut. It's Purim. Each group is made out of 5 different people from 5 different groups. That's what you do. So you don't read the Mishnah, you just grab one guy from the group, bring him, but you grab one from every group to every carbon. So every carbon has blue, purple, orange, red, and yellow. And now, what do? The 4 people, yellow, red, orange, purple, they look at the blue guy and they make a deal with him. If you're the owner, then we are leaving our carbon, we're coming to your carbon. And then the blue guy says the same thing with 3 other guys. The blue, purple, orange, red, they look at the yellow guy. And they say, if you, Mr. Yellow, you're the owner, please allow us to be part of your group. We're leaving our group. Shkoyach. And then yellow joins in, they do it to the red. And they do this 5 times in a row. They say this 4 to the 1, 4 to the 1, but it's always different 4. You go around in a circle, you do it. Okay, now let's see inside. Same thing, but it's 10 people. Thank you. I didn't have time for 10 polka dots. Shkoyach. I will tell you this. Gary has to do something quickly. I almost had a heart attack. I did this thing, and it says on the printer, because I have the new printer, it's going to print on a small page because the printer could do both. So I click, do it on the big page. So it takes everything and it made it. So I lost half the people, half the polka dots went off the page. So I had to start all over again. I got it big, and I had to put the polka dots back exactly. It's not possible to do symmetrical. It's a whole, and it's Moshe Shabbos. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was 5 minutes late. There's a curse on Moshe Shabbos. Mamish a curse. I was out the door. It was 5 minutes before the time, and I forgot. I forgot to print some stuff. I had to run back home. Mamish ma'aseh shoya. Okay, so v'chein chomesh chaburos shel chamisha chamisha, 5 groups, and each group has 5 people. 10 groups, and each group has 10. By the way, what happens if you have 10 groups and each one has 9? So you have to schlep another person. The only way this trick works is if you have the amount of people as the amount of groups, and if you don't have the amount of people, you have to add people. You can add people afterwards. You grab one person from each group. That's why I did the polka dots, because it's not so clear in the Mishnah that you have to do this, that it just says you do it once. Each group, fine. And that's how they say it. They say the 4 to the 1. 2 people, their Korban Pesach got mixed up. Now, here's the problem. You cannot leave your group at all and leave the Korban Pesach without an owner, right? You hear Yosef? If it's just me and you, and our Korbanos got mixed up, we have a big problem. I cannot go to that Korban and leave this Korban alone. Because if I do, then that Korban is going to be by itself without anybody in the group. So what do? I add another guy. I put an announcement out there. I have availability on my Korban Pesach. So I bring a guy in. And you bring a guy in. You bring somebody in. Now you do a switcheroo. Now you have 2 yellows and 2 blues. You bring a yellow, go to the blue group. You bring a blue and you bring it to the yellow group. So now you have a yellow and a blue and a yellow and a blue. And now you can do that trick. The yellow looks at the blue and says, if it's your carbon, then I'm leaving the other group and I want to be part of yours. And if it's my carbon, you leave the other group and you'll be part of mine. Excuse me. But if you're the owner, I'm leaving my group. Have a wonderful week. Afreilach and Shushan Purim and Purim, wherever you are. Have a great week, great month. We'll see you tomorrow in 10 hours.
I heard what you said.
Yeah?
I just went out for a minute. I forgot.
So you wanted to come in. You should have said Shalom Aleichem.
No, it's outside. That's what I'm saying.
You should have came in when I was talking.
I was actually at the gas station.
Oh, but you were listening on the phone. Hello, it's good to see you. Kvios, every day. Manishma, shkoyach, beautiful letter. I liked it. Thank you.
Let a special guest come back to Menashe.
Huh?
Let a guest come back to
Who?
Menashe.
No, it was a big zach.
Spoke last night, spoke this morning.
For speaking, he does it. I like your Gemara, man. I like it. Tomorrow?
7:15.
You were the first day. Shkoyach for Purim. Shkoyach, good Voch. Huh?
Yes. 6:30 and 8:05.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about your Sefer Torah. Who's the cipher? Pretty good cipher. I liked it. Oh, thank you.
I'll find out.
Who wrote it? Oh, how come it doesn't say on the bottom how many people? Yeah.
That's there. He wasn't supposed to speak well Shabbos, and they told him
The whole issue with the Korban Pesach with the 5 people.
Hillel.
Get the Voch, Yankee.
Who's that?
Janklowitz.
Who?
Janklowitz.
Yanklowitz?
Janklowitz.
Oh, Janklowitz. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? I don't know what you look like, but Shalom Aleichem.
Shall I face down?
Oh, how are you? You're in Eretz Yisrael, I see.
I'm in Yerushalayim, yes.
It's Purim. How's it going, Purim over there? Stark?
Yeah, I'm going to the parties now.
Oh, way to start off the night with a little bit of Torah, and now you could go get the Fashikert Gewaldik.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Great steer as usual.
Oh, it's one of the weaker ones, by the way, but it's okay. But I like your costume. What's he wearing?
Where is he?
Good you started late.
Best year in the world, Rabbi Stefansky.
Wow. I see, Yeshua, you learned that since you called me Mr. Stefansky, your whole life went upside down. So it's a good thing you're doing tshuva.
Rebelli, I'm very upset, Rebelli.
Oi, I'm sorry. No, why?
No, listen, on Erev Shabbos, I came all the way to the Shemesh.
No.
I wanted to give Yerushalayim Mones, and I went to two guys. I took a risk. I left Yerushalayim at 12:15. The last bus is 1:30.
Yeah.
But I was still on this, maybe it's a 4:15 from the Elohim, whatever. And then I was scared I won't make it to your house. I just took a bus back and I went home.
What?
Look, I have here.
Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you do something? I would have came to meet you.
I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't have your number. I have to shloshim monos for you. I bought it all the way. I went schlepping. And what am I going to do now with it? Send it to me. I'll bring it.
I want it. You're not giving it to anybody. I want it.
You have to make up. When am I coming to? I'm ready to take what time. You told me when. I'm in the summer Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. So bring it over Wednesday night. We're going to make time for you. A guy that goes on a bus back and forth. Did you just call me? Time out. Yeshua, did you just call me Mr. Stefansky? Hold on. It's when I finish.
Would have made a major story if you would have been in New York going to like Baltimore or something. Because it's in Yerushalayim, the whole thing's not even going to make it to the press now. But it's matters.
What press? I appreciate it. A guy was matriach 3 hours to come in this on a bus with full of shikarim. Look at this guy. Look how good he looks. Like the Shamroth. Look at him. He's mamish. He's up and going. Rabbi Shamroth. Look at this. Dr. Shamroth.
Yankee, get the Voch.
Rebelli, I'm going to send you an email. You tell me what time I can come.
Beseder. Well, Wednesday night.
He's available between 2:30 a.m. to about 5 a.m. That's the only time he's not sitting and learning and preparing the daf.
I'll tell you this. I don't want to end up like the guy in the MPY issue who has to leave his money, the $5,000 Erev Shabbos by some guy. I'm just thinking of that story. I said, listen, this is bus is 1:30. I'm just taking the bus and going home. I don't end up in Shemesh, in Shabbos in Beit Shemesh.
Wow. Well, it would have been very nice. It would have been very nice to have you. Oh, you without the mishpacha, I hear.
Never Shabbos in Beit Shemesh. How terrible would that have been?
By himself.
It's hard finding kosher food around here. It's a little bit of an issue.
Listen. You had a big problem. Your food wasn't very kosher, Mati. You know what Mati got me for Shalach Manas? You guys know what Mati got me? Only chalav stam, and he wrote it should be your last before you go holy on us on only chalav Yisrael. You should have a nos. He brought me massive chocolate, Toblerone, giant chocolate. Oh, and a bunch of Reese's Pieces for you.
Hopefully next year we'll have your house back again.
Time out. Yeshua. You called me Reb Eli. You called me Mr. And then you called me Eli. You see how bad your life is now. Which one do you want? You gotta start doing tshuva, my friend. It's Shushan Purim. He's in a hotel. I don't know. Ask him. Where are you, Yeshua? Chaim. His name is Chaim. Let's see your face, big talker. Let's see your background. Bet Shemesh. If I see your background, I'll trust you that you're in Bet Shemesh.
How did he get out of the hotel?
That looks like a lobby somewhere. He's in a hotel. Look at him. He's in a gorgeous hotel. Wow, look at that. There's no place like that in Bet Shemesh.
I have a party there probably.
Is your wife with you? Chaim, is your wife with you?
Whoa, hey now.
He's getting personal.
Eli, did you like the advertisement in the Order House?
Which one?
The Pesach cleaning one.
Oh.
Close the windows.
What should we do for Pesach? Pesachim? Huh?
One second. Did you just ask what you want for a seal on the Sechet Pesachim?
Okay, so
What about it?
How is the answer to that question not slaughter a lamb and barbecue it?
Because we did that already. We did that once.
Very few people who are currently a part of MDY were there for that.
That is true. Maybe we should.
3 weeks later, there's another seal.
Okay, that's a lot of davar, 120 down. I'm not going to be at both of them, at the way things going.
I thought you're not going.
אני חייב ללכת, יש דברים גדולים קורים. הבן שלי. Yeah, a long time ago, but hopefully, I don't know. Avi is back. Avi Mandelbaum is back. Shalom Aleichem, Avi. When are you going to join us in the morning?
So that's not such a simple question. I don't get my green passport until tomorrow. But my wife made it very clear.
No, I mean on Zoom. Forget about the shir. Zoom.
Every morning.
You're there, right there in that spot, the top spot?
Every morning.
I don't hear you. I don't see you. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'll look out for you.
That's so much for talking before shir. I've listened to what the Rebbe says.
Wow.
And if you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you between Southern Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Did you hear my laugh? You saw me laughing. I didn't buy it for a second, Tzaddik. Oh my gosh. But listen, look, your window is clean. Your window doesn't have any actresses on it. I'm very impressed. Slowly.
Every day was a different guy from the TV show Happy Days. The week before, from the TV show MASH. The week before, the TV show Cheers.
If you don't know what the MDY, the mama's getting corrupted, left, right, and I'm doing
Time out. Do we know Shui? Shalom Aleichem, Shui.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I don't remember you. Where are you from?
I'm from London.
Oh, London. We were just talking today. A guy from England crashed the party today, and I told him that there's nobody from Gateshead, and he said, "Nope, there's somebody from Gateshead." He doesn't even watch the share. He says, "But I know a guy from Gateshead." So I guess apparently I read this email where this kid said on Shabbos, "Good morning, Rabbi." Was that from Gateshead?
Yes, that's it. I know his father-in-law. I was speaking to him on the way home from shul. I said, "Your granddaughter's famous. You know, she was on the show and she said, 'Good morning.' All my kids know 'Good morning, Rabbi." Yeah, I mean, I've been going for about since halfway through Pesachim.
Halfway through Pesachim.
So it's been really.
All right, gewaldig.
And this is my first Zoom, and the guy's talking about all these TV programs corrupting me. I'm gonna have a hard time with my wife, so now I need to stay.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Avi, what are you doing? Hello. At least go to the bottom of the screen. Why do you need to be the first one on? So every New Yorker, every tzaddik from London turns on and sees your stuff. Okay.
When I logged in today, there was already 30 some odd people there.
Really? How do you get that spot though? I don't get
I
it.
have